Hi guys, it's Paula here and welcome to my New Year, New You webinar. I hope you had a brilliant Christmas and a really happy New Year, and that you enjoyed whatever it is that you got up to last night. We had, myself and my fiance Colin, we had a party here last night and it was great fun. And I was so excited. I was really excited. I was in great form last night. And this particular webinar I'd actually run last week. It was a pre-registered kind of event webinar, but when I woke up this morning I actually thought, you know what, I'm going to re-record it. I'm just going to put it up on YouTube and just put it out there, because I had so much fun last night. And really that was such a change for me, because I remember New Year's Eve, years and years ago. And year after year, I would just dread it. I used to hate it. And it was kind of like I wasn't celebrating anything at the end of the year, and I wasn't looking forward to anything in the upcoming year. So it would just be a PJs and just watch telly and don't acknowledge the new year. And I couldn't really get over how enthusiastic and how excited I was last night. And I know it's because the last few years have been such a big change for me. I've really changed so much in my life, and that's why I wanted to re-record this, because there is content, there's tips and strategies in this that I know could help you get that kind of passion, could kind of turn your life around, and to make sure that come 31st of December 2014 that you are not sitting at home in your PJs feeling sorry for yourself and saying, oh God, it's another year over and I've nothing to look forward to for next year. So that is why I'm putting this out there, because I thought, sure, why not? So happy New Year. Before I get kind of stuck into it anyway, I just want to give you a little brief introduction to myself. I know I've worked with some of you who would be on the Facebook page, but not all of you, obviously. So just a bit of background about myself. Hi, I'm Paula. I live in Dublin, Ireland with my fiance Colin and our dog Lilo. And I'm the owner of the Quarter Life Coach, which is a life and career coaching business I set up about 3 years ago. We've kind of rebranded in the last couple of months. But I love my work. I really love my work. And mostly I work with women in their 20s and 30s who feel like their life is just a million miles away from where they expected it to be, where they want it to be. And one of the main areas that tends to come up with my clients during sessions or on my group programs is that feeling of not enough. So, I mean, like not good enough, not smart enough, not funny enough, not pretty enough. You can kind of fill in the blanks here. It's just basically not enough, not feeling important, not feeling relevant, not feeling confident about who they are and what they want to do. And this line of work, what I actually do, is perfect for me because I totally get it. I get it 100%, because I struggled with that feeling for most of my life. That feeling of not enough. Now, I'm not here to say that I have it all figured out, that I'm an expert and that my word is gospel. I don't have all my shit together, as you would say. I still have bad days, I still have great days, but there's a huge difference between who I am now and who I used to be. And what was it? Yeah, it's because I've kind of dedicated the last couple of years of my life to actually learning these strategies, learning tools to help support myself and to kind of make myself progress towards the things that I wanted. So, what was it? It was probably about 2008, 2009. I had a picture perfect life. I had spent about 5 years in college. I'd studied law and I'd studied human resources, and I was working as a HR and employment law consultant with one of Ireland's very top HR consultancy firms. And I worked with companies all around the country, and I advised boards of directors, CEOs, business owners. I got to travel. I had an expense account. I wore fancy suits. I took nice holidays. I had a boyfriend that I'd been with for about 6 years, and my family really liked him. So I had this kind of picture perfect life for a young girl in her 20s. But there was something not right. And it was something I couldn't really put my finger on. Like, there was nothing wrong, but nothing really felt right. Nothing felt happy or joyous or anything like that. And I had this anxious feeling, constantly this anxious feeling. I felt it in my chest, and it just plagued me. It just followed me around like this grey cloud, and it just wouldn't go away. And I started having panic attacks. I put on a load of weight, and I was just plain miserable. And everyone around me seemed to be happy. They seemed to have their lives figured out, and they seemed to kind of know what they wanted to do, and kind of were quite content with the point that they had reached. And I thought there was something wrong with me, because I was just confused. I was really confused. I felt lost, because I'd reached this place where I'd been kind of striving to reach for years. So I'd finished my degree, I'd done my postgrad, I was working, I had a boyfriend, I had money, and this was the way it was supposed to be, I thought. And all of a sudden it was just kind of, I was asking myself, is this it? Is this it? Is this the pinnacle of my existence? It just kind of, I panicked because I just wasn't happy. And I was miserable in my work, and it was completely unexpected. I thought that once I got a job and I was established, that everything would go well. But what happened was a redundancy situation came up in my job, and because I was the last one in, I was the first one to go. And I was absolutely devastated. But it was brilliant because, to be honest, I knew it wasn't a good fit. I knew I wasn't happy there, and I don't know, I'd be honest in saying this, I don't know if I would have had the courage to actually make the jump myself. That's why anyone that I work with who have actually left a job that they're unhappy with, I respect them so much, because it takes so much courage to do that. But the career anyway had been a really bad fit, and by then I could see that my boyfriend at the time was a bad fit too. And he probably sensed this as well, because after 6 years I was dumped via text message. So needless to say, it was probably not the most nurturing and supportive relationship that I could have been in. But yeah, it was just a crazy period of my life, and it was really painful, very, very sad, but it was necessary. And I was thinking, okay, well, freed up from these two bad fits, these things that weren't working in my life, was I gonna be happier? And the answer was absolutely not, because I actually got worse. I felt worse about myself. I felt more anxious when I was now jobless and single, because what I did was I defined myself by my career, and I defined myself by my relationship. And even though I knew that they weren't right for me, now it was just me. It was just Paula on her own against the world. And without those two things that I'd used to define myself, without me being able to say, well, I am a HR and employment law consultant, I just didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was anymore. So I realised that I really needed to get to know myself, to kind of understand what made me tick. So I did that. I set out to discover who Paula was and what she wanted, and talking about myself in a kind of third party way. But I've been very lucky, because I always kept diaries from the time I was quite young. Not great if your sister reads them, but I had always kept diaries. And at the age of 14, I'd written in a diary, I'd written that I wanted to be a life coach when I grew up. And I completely dismissed that idea years ago, because I believed that I had to be in my 40s or in my 50s or have grey hair in order to be a coach. But when I read that statement in the diary, something just clicked in my head. And so anyway, there I was feeling lost. I had no job, no money, no relationship, nowhere to turn, because you see, I'd been the one that my friends and my friends' friends and my cousins and people would turn to if their lives hit a bump. And I'd kind of established myself as this go-to girl if people needed guidance, or if they needed help, if they were in a crisis. And for years, people had been coming to me in their times of trouble, but now I was the one who was in crisis, and I was looking around, but there was no one for me to really turn to. And it took a while for the penny to drop, for me to realise that I really couldn't look outside myself, that I had to look within and become, I suppose, my own first real client in this new career as a coach. And it was really, really interesting because as soon as I kind of start focusing on the idea of becoming a coach, I started to see this trend in absolutely everything I did, everything I enjoyed, in the films I watched, the books I read, the conversations I had with people, the type of people I loved. My passion was coaching, and it had been for almost 15 years. It was crazy when it just hit me in the face. And I'd even attended two kind of training courses in coaching just as a hobby, but I loved every second of them. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. After 6 months or so of just trying to find my way, I had this much clearer view of myself, and I had a really strong sense of my own identity. And I knew that who I am is completely separate to what I did for a living or who I was going out with. And I had a much greater sense of what I wanted. And that was, I wanted to be self-employed. I didn't want to rely on somebody else to earn a living. So I wanted to work as a coach. I wanted to have the freedom and flexibility of a lifestyle that kind of suited me. And I wanted to have the flexibility to do what I wanted to do, really, and to work with who I wanted to work with. And I was much, much clearer as to what I wanted in a relationship. And I knew what I just would not tolerate, and I knew what I expected from a partner. So what I did was I just made the decision, and I enrolled in a diploma in coaching for a year. And I loved every second of it, and I passed it with distinction, and it was just the start of one of the best times of my life. I went online dating, and I met Colm, and it was a completely different relationship to anything that I'd ever experienced, because the difference was I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wouldn't tolerate, and I was very, very clear about who I was and what was important to me. So now, 2014, I have my own business, I have my own home, I'm earning a living doing something that I absolutely adore. I'm getting married in a couple of months, and it's just such a big turnaround from where I was a couple of years ago. And this is the crazy thing, it's only a few years, but the difference is just focusing in on what I wanted, taking that time to actually say, okay, what's the big picture? What is it that I want to achieve? So my work, what I do for a living, I consider it like playing. I love it so much that it's just so much fun. And I love supporting other women and helping them to turn their lives around and feel passionate and purposeful about who they are and what they do. So that is the story of me. So that's how I got to be here talking to you guys right now. So as I said, this webinar was run last week, and I decided to do it because I noticed that the few days between Christmas and New Year itself, it would always get me thinking about what's next, what the next year is going to bring, and what the next year is going to be like. And as I said, used to hate New Year's, used to hate New Year's resolutions, all of that kind of thing. But the difference is, I suppose, just having that focus and knowing the tips and strategies that I'm going to share with you that actually helps me to turn resolutions into actual results that I can celebrate at the end of the year and look forward to the next one. So we all tend to make these New Year's resolutions, and as I said, used to hate them, used to avoid them like the plague, because I hated them because I just wouldn't follow through. I wouldn't follow through on anything that I said I was going to do as a resolution. So I knew I was just going to set myself up for disappointment year after year after year, because I just wouldn't make those changes. And I know from speaking to a lot of you guys that I'm just not alone in that experience. That's a common experience for many of us. But if you're listening to this, if you're listening to me right now and you haven't switched this off, then you have a much higher chance, I suppose, of succeeding with whatever it is that you want to bring into your life next year, because you're already making more of an effort than most people would. You're already looking for something, you're looking for tips, you're looking for strategies. So yeah, I'm going to move on to my next slide here, so bear with me if this technology, hopefully it will work. So the question, yay, it works. So the question is, what makes us want to set New Year's resolutions? I mean, why is it that at the end of one year and at the beginning of another, we have this, I suppose, a tradition? Well, I suppose it goes beyond tradition, but I suppose a tradition of making resolutions. But I think it's more like that there's something inside us that makes us want to make things better. And the calendar gives us this idea that at the beginning of a year, we can have a fresh start, that we can make things better, and that we can progress our lives to the next level. And if anything I've learned over the last couple of years with working with so many people, is we strive for progress. There's no denying that ultimately what makes us happy is the feeling that we're making progress. It's the feeling that we're growing, that we're moving forwards with our lives. And yeah, you've probably realised this over the last couple of days or the last couple of weeks, that getting things like material things that we have in our life, they don't make us happy. And you would have noticed that with you've been given gifts and presents and things like that over Christmas from your friends and from your family. But really, at the end of the day, it doesn't really impact on how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your life, your enthusiasm and your passion for what it is that you want to do. So, I mean, yeah, it's brilliant. A new pair of pajamas and a fancy shampoo is great and it's very much appreciated, but it doesn't make that much of a difference to your life. So getting things doesn't make us happy. The secret to real happiness is progress. Progress equals happiness. I even have its own slide here. Progress equals happiness. Because if we can feel like we're making progress in our lives on a regular basis, that is what makes us feel alive. And that's why at the beginning of the year we have that feeling inside us that says, yes, okay, I get to make a fresh start and I want to set my intentions for the year and I'm going to make real progress. My life is not going to be the same this time next year. I'm not going to be in the same place. I'm going to have moved up to whatever it is that you want to go after. So, I mean, if you look back on any resolution that you've made in the past 10 years, they're all made for the same reason. They're all made because you want to make progress. You want to feel like you're progressing, either in your relationships, in your health, in your finances, in your career. You want to make things better because progress makes you come alive. It makes you feel good. And I suppose change, right? That's in a way we kind of maybe look at progress. But you see, change is automatic. We don't really have to work on it. It just happens. It happens all by itself. Our lives change. The economy changes. Our careers change. Circumstances beyond our control. Our bodies change, whether we want them to or not, as the years go by. We can sit around and do nothing, and change is going to happen all around us. So change is pretty much automatic, but progress isn't. Progress is directed. Progress is focused. And if you want to make real progress, then you really have to look at your life in a different way. And this is ultimately what made such a difference with me over the past few years. You have to say, I'm going to take control. I'm going to take charge of my life rather than sitting back and hoping that things are going to work out. Rather than kind of going with the flow. My nana has this expression that, I love her to bits, but this expression, if it's for you, it's for you. Sure, if it's for you, it's for you. That is so not true. It's such a lie. I want to shake her every time she says it. If it's for you, it's for you. Because that's just sitting back and seeing what's going to happen. That's not taking charge. That's not going after anything. So I suppose in our culture, that is the way we've been raised. It's kind of like, just go with the flow, see what happens. If it's for you, it's for you. No, it's kind of bullshit, and that doesn't work. Trust me, tried that for years, didn't work. But that's what most people do. They sit back and they hope that things will work out. And they set these resolutions at the beginning of the year, but really all that they're doing, and I hands up, open, honest, and say I did it myself, all that we're doing is just stating a wish list. What we hope is going to come together, and then call it a resolution. There's not much energy or commitment or time or anything really vested in it. So we're not really surprised that by the 10th of January, which is statistically the date that most New Year's resolutions fall apart, so we're not really surprised that by the 10th of January that we're back to our old ways, that we're back to our old patterns and ways of being. Because you see, most of us, we don't really understand what a resolution is. Because when you resolve to do something, you're making a commitment. You're making a decision that you are going to find a way to make this happen, or you're going to make a way. It's basically saying this is how it's going to be from now on, rather than if it's for you, it's for you. There's a huge difference between those two. This is how it's going to be. This is what my life is going to look like, as opposed to, well, I'll see what happens. It's totally, totally different. So there's a quote, actually, this is that I came across a while ago, and it's basically, if you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats, right? Now, I came across that a couple of years ago, and it kind of intrigued me. I didn't really know what it meant. But the thing is, many times when we make resolutions, if we make goals or whatever it is for ourselves, there's a part of us. Now, it could be a tiny, tiny, tiny part, but there's a part of us that basically mentally makes room for an escape route. It kind of sets us up with a little, okay, well, if it doesn't work out, then I can do this, or whatever it is. But no matter how badly we want something, the thought of failing it's generally on our minds. It's there. And the question is, what if we took failure off the table? What if it wasn't an option? I mean, where would that put us? So this, if you want to take the island, burn the boats, that quote originated with the ancient Greeks. This is a little bit of a history lesson here. But when the ancient Greeks, when the warriors would arrive on the enemy shores, they'd receive an order from whoever was in charge, their general or whoever it was. They'd receive this order to burn the boats. So it basically meant that they had no way of retreating. These guys didn't have an escape. They couldn't escape. There was no running away. So they had two options. They could either succeed in whatever it is that they were trying to do, probably not very nice things anyway, but they could succeed in that, or they could die. That was the two options. And that, obviously, we're not going to bring that into our lives, but that kind of attitude, it just led to like fierce passion and victory for them. And it's a powerful way of thinking. I mean, think about the last time that you made a resolution, or you made a commitment or a goal or whatever it is for yourself. Did you think about what would happen if you didn't accomplish it? I mean, what if you didn't even give yourself the option of failing? What if you just took it off the table and said, no, I'm going to find a way, or I'm going to make a way. Failure isn't an option here. And you're going to keep tweaking you might have to keep maneuvering and keep trying different things. But if failure's not an option, if you're not going to give up, that you're going to succeed, I suppose it would just make you fight. It would make you fight for your goal with all the passion that you have, and it would get you to do things differently that other people wouldn't do. So I know all of this is so much easier said than done, and we don't exactly live in the times of the ancient Greeks. But I just wanted to share that story with you, that example of history with you, just to show you what's possible if you took failure off the table. If you decided, okay, I'm going to find a way, or I'm going to make a way. They're my options. So making a resolution, a New Year's resolution, or at any point of the year, it basically means making up your mind. It means making a decision, making a commitment. And this can be really, really scary. I know it can, because we like our excuses. We like to have an escape route. We like to have our backup plan. So anyway, this webinar, what I wanted to put this together for you guys is I want to give you 4 tips that are going to help you make lasting change, to help you turn your resolutions, whether it's a New Year's resolution or a goal that you want to bring into your life at any point. I want you to be able to turn them into real results. So lasting change, that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for a week or 10 days of just internal torture with a tennis match going on back and forth in your head before you give up on whatever it is that you decided you were going to do, and then beat yourself up and give yourself a hard time, and then just go downwards for the rest of the year. Again, been there, did that a few years ago. It's not fun, it doesn't work. So from this point onwards, We're only interested in lasting change. Okay, something that's going to stay with us for months and years to come. Something that's going to excite us. Something that's going to drive us to accomplish it. So the question is, what does it take to successfully make lasting change in your life? Okay, so there are 4 steps. Okay, step 1 is have a vision. Okay, so the first step for lasting change is make it, I suppose it's like making a resolution. Fundamentally, it is the same. And that is, you have to have a vision. A vision for what you truly want for yourself in your own life. Not what you think you want, or what you think your life should be like, or what you think other people think your life should be like, but what you truly want for yourself. I mean, a lot of people's resolutions or goals are things like, I'm going to stop drinking, I'm going to stop smoking, I'm going to stop eating so much sugar or chocolate, or I'm going to lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to, all these kind of negative things. Well, I suppose they sound negative, but you see, the problem with that is it's not very inspiring. All right, there's nothing really inspiring, I'm going to stop eating so much sugar. Because more of the focus is on what you're not going to do. More of the focus is what is being taken away from you. And you're not really looking at what you're going to create for yourself, what you're going to bring into your life, the benefits. So it's really hard to move forward with resolutions that seem like they're sacrifices. Because they're not compelling, they're not exciting. You kind of just look at them with fear and dread, and it's like that kind of back and forth table tennis match in your head before you kind of crash. So a vision, right? This is the first step. You need to have a vision. A vision is what you're here to create. It's how you want your life to look in, now, hold your breath, in 5 to 10 years' time. Right? I know it sounds like a hell of a long time in the future, and you might be gasping and thinking, oh my God, Paula, I don't have a clue how I want my life to look next week, let alone in 10 years' time. But when it comes to a life vision, you really do need to go out that far. I mean, this is where you want to end up. This is the big picture. So if you don't have any idea of how you want your life to look in 5 or 10 or 15 years' time, then how do you know if every day you're moving towards it or if you're moving further away from it? I mean, it's like getting into a car and driving around without knowing where you're going. I mean, we just wouldn't do that. That's kind of stupid. We get into the car with our destination in mind, or at least the general direction that we want to go in. And this is what we're trying to achieve with a life vision, a destination or a direction. Because if you don't know where you're going and you don't know what's going to make you happy or what success looks like, then how are you going to know if you're on the right path? And I speak from experience that, yeah, I was just driving around, I was going with the flow. If it was for me, it was for me, all that kind of stuff. And I had no real direction. Because what tends to happen is that we just get caught up. We get caught up with the masses, and we get caught up in our late teens and in our early 20s. And we start to do things out of necessity. We do what everyone else is doing. We do what we think we should be doing. We do what is expected of us. We go to college or we get a job. We work really hard. We progress in our career as best we can. We try and meet a partner. We save money. We maybe talk about getting married. We might talk about getting a house, all of that kind of stuff. But we're just getting on with things. We have our heads down and we just like go, go, go. And we're like busy worker bees, just like work, 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 busy, 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 and we don't look up. I mean, we just keep going, and this was me for years. I was busy, 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 and just trying to ignore the fact that I was miserable. I was trying to ignore the fact that I was so unhappy. And I thought it was normal. I thought it was normal to be unhappy in your 20s. I thought it was normal for me anyway. But the problem was I had no vision. I had no direction. I was just going with the flow, and I was doing what I thought I should be doing. I mean, law, yes, okay, I was kind of directed towards that. HR, yeah, I love people, so I was directed towards that. Okay, what should I do that would mix the two of them? I didn't really ask myself, is this what I wanted? So what having a life vision will do for you is that it'll give you some focus. It will give you direction, as well as helping you gain clarity on whether the decisions that you're making in your life are going to actually make you happy, if they're going to bring you to a place that you want to be. So it's not very often that we spend time on ourselves. I know that is true. We tend to look after other people far more than we kind of look after ourselves. That's a whole different area. I will be running a separate course on that at some point in the year. But we spend so much time living that we don't actually make the time to just look up, to pick our heads up, look up, raise our heads and say, okay, this is the big picture. This is what I want my life to look like. This is what I'm here to create for myself. And I want you to do that. I want you to do exactly that. I mean, now is your time to do that. Take a step out of the madness that has been Christmas and New Year, and just give yourself a couple of hours and just ask yourself, how do I want my life to look in 10 years' time? What's it going to be like? What would make me happy? Ideally, in the perfect world, what would it look like? You see, the time is going to pass anyway. 10 years is going to come and go. And I think it would be much, much better if we just stopped, took the time now and pointed ourselves in the right direction for the next 10 years, rather than going with the flow, rather than just waiting and seeing what's going to happen. So think about that over the next couple of days and just jot down any ideas that come to your mind. And it has to make you think, wow. It has to make you think, oh my God, I would be floating on air. I'd just be set up if I had a life like that, if I was doing that, if I was being that person, if I was living in that area or wherever, living in that country, whatever it is that you want to do or be or have, put it down, get it in there. Be big and bold and outrageous. Because people really, they overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year. But they completely underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 or 10 years. I mean, you can do total life turnaround. But you need to be clear on what you want your life to look like and by when. I mean, what does success look like to you? It's a really simple concept. I mean, the idea of asking yourself that question and having that vision. Simple concept, but incredibly powerful. Really incredibly powerful. So rather than simply setting a resolution, a New Year's resolution for the sake of setting a resolution, think about your life vision. Think about how you want your life to look and then ask yourself, what needs to happen for me to get there? And that way you'll know whether the resolutions or the goals that you set for yourself this year are going to bring you towards what it is that you truly want for yourself, whether they're going to fit in with your bigger picture. So that is step 1, really important. And equally as important is step 2, which is to have strong reasons. So ask yourself, once you've kind of jot down a few points about your vision and what you want to do and be and have in your life in the next 10 years, ask yourself, why? Why do I want that? You see, we tend to forget that. We tend to forget that point. We forget to ask ourselves why we're doing what we're doing. If we did, we might get a few answers that kind of go, oh, I'm doing it because I think I should, or I'm doing it because my parents expect me to, or I'm doing it because whatever reasons, but they're not our own reasons. They're not strong reasons. So this is a kind of safety net question as well, but it's also to motivate you. I mean, there's 2 types of motivation. There's push or pull, okay? I keep saying okay, sorry. Try and pinch myself. So push or pull. Push requires willpower. And willpower does not last. What you're looking for from your vision and from these strong reasons that you come up with is something, I suppose, it's to create something that is going to be a gift to you, a gift to yourself, a gift to you for your life. That way you're going to make sure it happens because it's going to pull you towards it. You're going to want to feel pulled towards your vision because it's so damn exciting that you just can't wait to get there. That's what you want to do. And like another factor as to why strong reasons for doing what you're doing and for following your dreams and going after what it is that you want, the reasons why you're doing that, is because a strong why, a strong reason is going to help you through these inevitable challenges that are going to come up. I mean, they will come up. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. But knowing why you're doing what you're doing is going to help you get there. I mean, here's, I suppose, really simple examples. But if you're cranky, if you're hungry and you're on a diet, and you've had a really shitty day, what are you going to do? I mean, most of us would just kind of go, oh, I forget it. I'll start again on Monday. But if you have a compelling vision, if you have strong reasons why you're doing what you're doing, then more than likely you're going to be able to pull yourself up. You're going to be able to say, okay, no, I just need to take a break and prepare something healthy. You're going to look after yourself a lot better. Or say you're busy and you're tired, you haven't gotten out for a walk, and your goal was to exercise every day or to go out for a 15-minute walk every day this year. I mean, without a strong vision, without reasons, you're probably going to just go home and crash on the couch and just start flicking through all the channels, order a takeaway or whatever it is. Been there. You have to have these strong reasons and a compelling vision, because it's going to help you through these challenges that are definitely going to come up. For example, with my business, I love what I do, but I work harder. I work so much harder now than I've ever worked before in my life. It's kind of mad. But I could be really tired, but I could be scheduling a newsletter to go out at, say, 2 a.m. and Colin might be fast asleep in bed, really snug, really warm. The wind and rain could be battering against the window. And I'm here sitting in my office just in front of the laptop kind of typing. My reason for doing that is because I want to help. I want to help other women in their 20s and 30s feel good about themselves. I want them to start self-directing their own life based on what they want to achieve and based on what or who they want to be and what they want in their lives. And that is hugely, hugely compelling to me. It's going to get me to do so much more, because I know how shitty it feels to feel not good enough, to feel kind of, I suppose what's the best way to describe it, to just feel like you're outside your own life, that you're waiting for your own life to start. Kind of look into your dreams and kind of talking yourself out of them. That's lousy. It's a horrible feeling. And that's why I do what I do. That's my reason, because I don't want other women to think that that is normal. Do you know what I mean? It's not. It's just us getting in our own way. And I used to totally be like that. And I suppose, just put myself outside of my comfort zone and just work towards it. But my reasons, that's my reasons. It gets me to do things that other people wouldn't do. So if you want to change your career, I mean, how are you approaching it? Are you looking at it with fear and dread and thinking, well, I'm not good enough, or I won't be able to get a job somewhere else, or there's a recession, or I'm not smart enough, I don't have the money to go back to college, I don't have the time to go back to college, I'm 32 or I'm 33 or whatever age, and if I go back and retrain, that's 4 years and I just can't do that. I mean, you might hate your job, but if you're using this kind of push motivation, trying to force yourself out of a bad situation into something else that you might be fearful of, that's just not going to work. You're going to hesitate and put off making the decision and wait and oh, I'll just give it another year and see what happens, or maybe I'll get a promotion. It doesn't work. But on the other hand, if you envisioned how you want your life and how you want your career to look like, if you pictured yourself doing something fascinating, something compelling, a job where you're doing meaningful work, a job that you're doing something that you cared about, something that got you excited, I mean, if you developed really strong reasons that would pull you towards that future, how different would that be? What would the dialogue, I suppose, in your head be like? I mean, if you knew where you were going, if you were self-directing your own life based on what you wanted, you would do so much more to get there. Completely different. And I'm not teaching you anything new. I'm not telling you anything new here. I'm just reminding you of what you already know. And this is the crazy thing. It's like we all have our own answers. We all know. But we just need a little kick in the ass sometimes. I worked with a coach myself for the last 4 years because I'd be blind to my own, I suppose, my own fear would get in my own way, and I need somebody else to kind of, I suppose, give me that kick in the ass and just say, Paula, just do it. Just do it and just do it. So this is the thing. I mean, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm sure you've had an experience yourself where you've enjoyed something, you were excited about it, you felt pulled towards it, you got more energy, you put yourself out there more, and you got it done. You did whatever it is that you wanted to do because you were pulled towards it. I mean, we all have done that. It's just we kind of forget. We forget that we've had those moments. Okay, so that is step 2. I'm kind of going off on a little rant here. So step 2 is have strong reasons. Step 3 is review it every day. And I love this. There's a quote, I don't know who to attribute it to. It's where we place our attention is what we create for ourselves. And I find that to be really, really true. So if you listen to this, if you set your resolutions, if you set your vision as to how you want your life to look, if you come up with your reasons why you're committed to achieving what it is that you want to achieve, and then you take that piece of paper, you fold it up, and then you put it into the darkest, stinkiest junk drawer in your house, never to look at it again, then what do you think the chances are that 31st of December 2014 that you will have accomplished those lovely things that you set out at the beginning of the year that you put into the darkest, stinkiest drawer? Yeah, there's probably slim to no chance that that's actually going to happen for you. So your vision and your reasons, they need to have your attention, because your brain is this really incredible, powerful tool, and at any given moment in time it is processing thousands upon thousands of pieces of information. And over 90%, I think it's even something even much higher, 95 or 99% of what's going on around us, of what's happening in the world, we have no idea of, because if we were to process all of that and pay attention to everything, our senses would just be completely overloaded and overwhelmed. So our brain filters, okay, this is the main point of this, our brain filters the world around us. And what I was always fascinated about was how does it filter? I mean, how does our brain know what to pay attention to and what to ignore? I mean, how does it know what's important and what's relevant and what's not important? So from my own research and studies and from talking to people smarter than me, I discovered that it filters, our brain filters based on what we say, based on what we believe and what we think is important. So most of the time we're not really conscious of this. We're not really aware of what's going on in our brain. And that is why I'm a huge fan of vision boards. Now, a vision board, I don't know if you've ever come across them before, but it's a visual representation of what it is that you want to do or be or have in your life. And you can use a piece of cardboard, or you can create one online in Pinterest. Or like me, you can use a kind of cork board and just cut clippings out of magazines and just pin them on. But anything at all that inspires you and that reminds you of your resolutions, of what it is that you want to achieve, anything that reminds you of your reasons to do what it is that you want to do. So that's what you can kind of put together, a vision board. And I really think that they are the ultimate tool for just having this laser sharp focus on what it is that you want to achieve, because they serve to kind of keep you inspired, to keep you on track and keep you motivated. And I have a few examples here on the slides of I just did a Google search, and these are other people's vision boards. But you can tell what it is that they want their brain to pay attention to. So creating this vision board and putting it up somewhere in your home, in your apartment, wherever, somewhere that you're going to see it every day, even if you just have it as take a picture of it and use it as the screensaver for your laptop or your phone or anything. But somewhere where you're going to pay attention to it every day, that is a really powerful way of telling your brain, this is important. This stuff is important. And what happens then is your brain will start to notice things. It'll start to pay attention to things that kind of fit with what it is that you're saying is important. And you probably have heard people say things like, as soon as I made the decision, or as soon as I committed to something, then the path just kind of opened up in front of me, like magic or something like that. And really, there's nothing magical or there's nothing airy-fairy about all that. It's simply making a commitment, making a decision, and then telling your brain that it's important. And then your brain just starts to notice opportunities that it might have filtered out before. They might have been around you all the time, but because it didn't know that it was important to you, then you wouldn't have been paying attention to it. So it's as simple as that. So that is the purpose of a vision board. Plus, they're great crack to make. Even if you got a couple of friends over, and pile of magazines, whatever it is, and a bottle of wine, and just had a vision board afternoon. What is it that I want my life to look like in the next 10 years? Why do I want it? And just put together a visual representation of what it is that you want to do. So I think that is it for there. So the fourth step, we're going to move on to the fourth step. Ultimately, what is this all about? Okay. It kind of comes down to 3 words. And these 3 words have they have made the most difference in my life over the past couple of years. And those 3 words are: raise your standards. I know, it sounds really cliche, it sounds cheesy or whatever, but that's it. I mean, lasting change really comes down to these 3 words: raise your standards. For 2014, raise your standards for your life. You see, lasting change is very different to a goal. We don't always hit the goals, but we always get our standards. A better way to kind of describe this is, having, must versus should, or needs versus want, whatever way it is that you want to look at it. But everyone in life, they get the things that they must have. I must do this. I must have this. I must be this person. But we don't always really go after our shoulds. So think about it. Everyone has a list of things that they should be, that they should do, that they should have, that they should whatever. Their should list. Shit list. I mean, do you have a list like that? Most people do. It kind of goes along the lines of: I should be more confident, or I should exercise more, or I should eat healthier, or I should get up earlier, or I should have more patience, I should really change my job, I should go back to college, I should learn to say no to my family, I should spend less time on Facebook and on social media, I should really take up a new hobby, or I should do some volunteer work, or I should travel more, I should get a pension, anything. It just goes on and on and on. And when we actually do something, when we achieve something that's on our should list, we're like, oh, that's brilliant, that's great, I'm really, really happy. But if we don't, we're not really that surprised when it doesn't happen, because we haven't committed any energy really to it. We don't really have a commitment. It's like the wish lists. We don't have commitments with our should list. But what happens when you raise your standards? It means turning things into a must. I must change my job. I mean, it's totally different. We will always get our musts. So come here. I mean, have you had an area in your life where you raised your standard and all of a sudden your life is just never the same again? Perhaps a relationship with a friend or a colleague, or possibly an ex-friend or an ex-colleague, where you might have put up with crap for ages and ages, and you kept telling yourself, well, I should say something, I should be more assertive, I should do something about it, I should. And you might have been saying that for years and years and years, but then someday something happened, right? And something just clicked in your head, and you just went over that tipping point, and inside yourself you just said, no more, I'm just not taking any more of this crap. Something inside you shifted in that moment, and you just knew that you'd never go back. And that kind of change, it doesn't take any willpower, because I suppose I had a situation like that before with one of my old bosses. She was the HR manager in a really busy hotel, and I was her assistant. And it was my first real job after college, after I did the HR degree. So I was really excited about it. But this woman was, she was unbelievable. She was intimidating, she was rude, she was obnoxious. The staff in the hotel were afraid of her. She cursed at them, she shouted at them, she shouted at me and cursed at me. And I was there for a couple of months, and I kept telling myself that I should say something, that I should stand my ground, that I should tell her that she can't speak to me and to the other staff like that. And I did that for months and months and months, this should in my head, until one day there was just an incident, shall we say, and something clicked in my head, and I just said, no more. I'm just not taking this anymore. And what happened in that moment was my standards raised. And I was stronger. Immediately, I was stronger. And I called a meeting with her. I told her exactly what my problem was, what I wouldn't tolerate anymore. I said to her that I wasn't prepared to put up with that I was going to hand in my resignation. And we ended up having a really, really good chat. It was strange. She kind of poured out. She didn't want to be there. She was unhappy. All of these different things. But to be honest with you, I didn't care. It sounds so bad. To be honest, I wanted to leave that job. And what happened in that day was, yes, of course, I did care for how she felt. But for me to keep going, to kind of put myself into that situation where I was subject to whatever, this verbal abuse, and it was just a no more. And I didn't care what I really didn't care about was I didn't care that I had nothing else lined up. I didn't have another job to go to. Basically, all I cared about was that I had decided that I no longer would allow someone to treat me like that. I wouldn't tolerate it for 1 second longer, and that's what happened. So what happens is when we make something a must, we attach ourselves to it, and it becomes part of our identity. And one thing I've learned over the past few years is that people absolutely follow through with who they believe they are. I know it sounds strange, but probably the strongest force in the human personality that I've come across in the past few years is this need to stay consistent with who we think we are. So if you say to me, Paula, I'm going to work really hard in 2014 to be more assertive with my family because they really take the piss. They're always asking me to do things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set better boundaries and I'm going to learn to say no. But I suppose I am the one who fixes everything. I mean, I am the fixer of the family, and that's who I am. That's just who I am. Then if you said that to me, then I just know that your days are numbered and that you're going to be saying yes to request after request after request from your family because that is who you say you are. That's how you define yourself. It's interesting. I mean, very often I hear people say, well, I can't do that. I'm just not that kind of person. And I find that really, really fascinating. And I have to respond to it by saying, well, really? I mean, when did you define yourself? I mean, when did you decide what you could and what you couldn't do? I mean, how many years ago did you do that? And the reason I ask that is because I've said those words myself. I've had the same question thrown back at me. So most people, I mean, if we really look at it, like most people are living their lives based on this set of standards and belief systems that they learned years and years ago. Because really, like very, very often we make decisions when we're really young about what to believe, about who we are, about what we're capable of. And that becomes this glass ceiling that kind of controls us. It's based on our, for want of a better word, conditioning. The conditioning that we've had over the years. So I suppose this is an example of conditioning for you. Circus elephants. I don't know if you've ever been to a circus that's had animals as part of the show, but if you have, then you'll have seen that the elephant has this rope around its neck and it's attached to a stake in the ground. And when you look at how huge and powerful this elephant is, you know that she could bring the whole tent down with no effort, and yet she doesn't struggle. She stays there, and she doesn't even try because she's been conditioned. You see, the circus takes the elephant and trains her. They start training her when she's a baby. And they take this huge rope, probably the strongest rope that they can find, and they drive the stake deep into the ground. And the baby elephant will fight and fight and fight and fight until one day she just decides that she's not capable of pulling the stake out of the ground. And once this becomes her identity, she just doesn't try anymore. She accepts that this is how it is, that this is life. And she doesn't realise that even when she's much like years later when she's fully grown, that she could easily do it. She doesn't try because she's been conditioned. So what I believe is a lot of us have been conditioned like baby elephants. We might have tried things in the past that didn't work, so now we just don't try anymore. We accept that this is our life and that this is all we can accept. This is all we can expect. I mean, conditioning is something we really need to be aware of. We need to pay attention to who we've decided we are. We need to pay attention to what we've already decided that we're capable of. We need to pay attention to the limits and the ceilings that we've already put on ourselves. Because who we are is not set in stone. We all have the potential to grow and progress in every area of our life. So there's a quote I love by George Bernard Shaw. And it's like, life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And I couldn't agree more with that. So some people say that your culture and that your environment, that determines your personality and that determines your character. Other people say that you're born with your character intact and that your destiny is already sewn up. I mean, what do you think? I mean, does biology or do the stars decide your fate? I mean, are we purely the products of what we've been raised and conditioned to be? What I believe anyway is that we always have free will. So who you are right now is absolutely, it's definitely important. But it's not as important as who you will become. I love that. I love the potential of that. So who you become is who you need to become, who you must become. So it's completely up to you. It's completely up to you how far you stretch yourself. If your life vision is non-existent, I mean, if you just want to see what happens, if you're gonna be one of those, if it's for me, it's for me. If you want to just be able to get by, if you want to be able to pay your bills and keep a roof over your head, then you're going to become someone who's going to strive towards that. Do you get me? If your life vision is vast and exciting, so for example, if you want to buy a house and pay off your mortgage in 10 years, if you want to have adventures, if you want to travel the world, if you want to swim with the sharks, if you want to go on a hot air balloon, if you want to learn a foreign language, if you want to have a passionate relationship that's just fun and exciting, if you want to be financially free by the time you're 50 or 40 or whatever age, I mean, then you're going to become someone who's going to strive towards that. Even if you don't hit the mark every time, your life is still going to be so much fuller and so much richer than if you were just trying to get by, if you were just waiting to see what happens. And a brilliant lesson that I've learned over the past few years is to step up. Sounds so easy, step up. And I was working with my own coach at the time, and we were talking about my goals, my life vision, what I wanted my life and what I wanted my business to look like. And we were talking about the fact that I wasn't getting anywhere with it. So the problem was that I was scared. I was afraid. I was just afraid of everything. I was afraid that it wouldn't work. I was afraid of what other people might think of me. They might say, who does she think she is to have her own business and be doing what she's doing? I was afraid of putting myself out there and kind of just risking this kind of people looking at me or talking about me or anything. And to be honest, I was even afraid that it would work. I was afraid of what people would think of me if my business did work. All of these kind of excuses and reasoning and stuff like that were all just in my head, and I was just all muddled. And some of the things I came up with were like, I'm a bit shy, or I'm too young, or I just get bored and I get distracted easily by shiny things, or I might get bored with it, or I just really couldn't handle it if I failed. I mean, what would happen? What would I do? I even used I'm just not that type of person. I'm not the type of person who would actually do those things. I mean, having your own business and all that, I couldn't do that. No. And my favourite, and the one I hear from a lot of my clients, is the excuse I gave to my coach of why I was messing around and just pussyfooting around and not actually committing to what it is that I wanted to do, was I said to her, well, this is my dream, and if I try and if it doesn't work, then I'm just going to be devastated. So what will I have to dream about if I try and I fail? What will I do then? So I was kind of thinking that it's probably best just to keep my dream a dream, and that way it's safe. That way it's protected. And I know in her head she was just saying, oh God, that is bullshit, Paula. And I know when I hear clients say that to me, it's just, I'm thinking the same. No, you're not keeping it in your head. No. So there was silence anyway at the other end of the phone line. And because then I know why she did it deliberately, to get me to actually listen to what I'm actually saying. And she just asked me one question. And she just said, Paula, who do you need to be? And the question just hit me right between the eyes. And it just stopped me in my tracks, and I kind of got rid of all those excuses. And this is what we coaches would call an aha moment, when you kind of just have this realization. Because I knew the answer. I knew I had to raise my standards. I had to step up. And I had to be this bigger, stronger, more confident version of myself if I wanted to do the things that I wanted to do. And if I wanted to have the life I wanted to have. So it had to become a must. Do you get me? It had to become a must. I had to raise my standards and not say, well, I should try and do a webinar. It's like, I must do it, and I must do it by this date, because I'm going to find a way, or I'm going to make a way to make this happen, because this is my dream and this is what I want and this is what I'm going to go for. So I needed to be like Paula 2.0 or something like that. So it all comes down to the inner game, okay? As Aaron's saying, okay, again, changing your life, it always comes down to the inner game, because you can't control what's going on outside in your world or in your environment or whatever's happening outside, but you have total control over yourself. You have control over your own decisions, and you have control over your standards, over what is a must for you. So I want you to take those 3 magic words and I want you to live them. Raise your standards. Yay! Okay, so we're going to review quickly. So step 1, have a vision. Step 2, have strong, compelling reasons why you want to do what it is that you want to do, or why you want to be who you want to be, all of these things. Step 3 is to review it every day. Step 4, raise your standards. So what I want you to do over the next few days is to take some time, think about your life vision, think about how you want your life to look. And you need to come up with compelling reasons as to why it is that you want what you want. And it has to excite you, it has to pull you towards it. Thirdly, you need to review it every day. So don't hide your vision and your reasons away in the back of the darkest, stinkiest, whatever drawer in your house. Keep it in your purse. Look at it every day, or better still, create a vision board and put it up somewhere where you're going to see it every day. And the 4th step is ultimately what this is all about, is raising your standards. Raising your standards as to what you're going to achieve in your life, what you're going to create for yourself. Because remember, people don't always get their shoulds. They don't always get their wants. But they always get their musts. So if changing your career is something that you want to do, then make it a must. And then you will find a way to do it. So finally, I can't leave you without saying that you need to back up your new standards with action. It kind of goes without saying. We can't just kind of write it all down and again wait for it to happen. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, you have to break it down into, I suppose, bite-sized chunks so that you can have this victory day after day. So, like, remember, our actions define us. All the results in our lives, they come down to our actions, what we do on a day-to-day basis. It starts with our standards, and then our actions follow from that. So think about it. I mean, someone who is very fit, very active, very healthy, they take different actions. They do different things than people who are not very active, very fit, very healthy. So little things that they do on a day-to-day basis would be very, very different. It could start with the alarm clock going off in the morning. So if your standard is that you're someone who's raring to go, that you're active, that you're healthy, that's all of that, then when the alarm clock goes off in the morning, you roll over, you turn it off, you put your feet on the ground, you pull on a pair of runners, and then you're out the door. As opposed to someone with a different standard who, when the alarm clock goes off in the morning, they might roll over a few times, do a stretch, press snooze about 4 times every 10 minutes, and then they kind of pop into Starbucks on their way to work or wherever it is they're going, and they get a mocha and a muffin. Different standards equals different actions. I mean, totally different. And it's just the day-to-day, the little things on a day-to-day basis that we do. So just remember, success and failure, they're not giant events. They're not these huge things that happen overnight. It might look like that, but it really comes down from all the little things that we do on a day-to-day basis. Things that we do actually have control over. So just think about it. Failure is, it's failing to make a decision. It's not keeping an eye on your finances. Failure is not saying no. Failure is allowing yourself to get burnt out. Failure is not standing up for yourself. It's all the little things that you have control over on a day-to-day basis. And that's what determines whether we succeed or whether we fail. So the same goes for success. I mean, success is having a vision. Success is making it compelling, making it exciting, pulling yourself towards it. Success is reviewing it every day. Success is doing the little things each day that are going to take you closer to that vision. And success is getting up off the couch and going for a walk. Success is the inner game. It's the way you think about yourself. So the only thing that's going to make you happy this year and any other year is to step up. To raise your standards, discover what you're capable of, and feel that incredible power of just pushing through whatever it is that's been holding you back. And generally the thing that holds us back the most is ourselves. So break through that little negative voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you can't do it, you don't have the resources, blah, blah, blah. Just break through that, raise your standards, and show yourself what you're capable of. So we're going to wrap up here. I think I've gone on a bit longer than I had intended. But listen, I really want you to get whatever it is that you want for yourself this year. I want you to be whoever it is that you aspire to be this year. I mean, don't let this year be like last year. Even if last year was brilliant, still don't let this year be like last year. Raise the standard again. You see, it's not what we get that makes us happy. It's who we become. Really, that's what it's all about. It's who we become. So a simple thing for you to do, let me see. I'm just going to quickly go through this again so that you have it. So number 1, what's your vision? What is your vision? How do you want your life to look? What's an area in your life that you'd like to improve? I mean, is it your finances? Is it your career, your relationships, your health? Do you want to have more fun, more adventure? Put it into the big picture, whatever it is. Number 2, what are your reasons? What are your strong, compelling reasons? Why do you want to make this change? I mean, what's it going to give you? What difference will it make? What will it cost you if you don't make the change? I mean, do you really want to be in the same place this time next year? I don't think so. So listen, you need to have at least 3 compelling reasons why you're committed to doing whatever it is that you want to do this year. Number 3, review it every day and create a vision board. So make sure you look at your vision, look at your reasons every single day. And if you can, create this vision board and stick it up somewhere where you can see it every day. Number 4, ultimately, what it's all about is raising your standards. So we don't always get our shoulds, we don't get our wants, but we always get our musts. So raise your standards, make your life vision a must. Follow it up with breaking your goals down into these bite-sized chunks so that you can take action towards them on a daily basis. Celebrate every day that you bring yourself closer, every step closer that you get to your vision. So listen guys, I really hope that you have found this webinar helpful, that you found it beneficial, and that you're raring to go in 2014, that you're going to make it your year. If I can help and support you in any way, it would be my honour. I have various different programs that I run throughout the year. The next one is one of my favourites. It's the Fairy Godmother program, and that starts on Monday the 6th. So this is a 30-day online group program, and as I said, it's one of my favourites, but it's an online program, so you can work it around your own schedule. There's 2 live Q&A sessions, there's 4 modules and workbooks, one each week, and we cover topics like creating your life vision. We look at getting focus on what it is that you want. We look at mindset and confidence. We look at decision making and follow through. We look at self-worth and loads of other areas. And the girls who've done that over the past couple of months, the changes that they've made in their lives over the past couple of months has been astounding. I mean, they've moved countries, changed jobs, ended relationships that weren't working, started new relationships. Yes, world travel trips arranged, tickets bought, everything. Whatever it is that you want to do, this program is all about personal power. This is all about just finally tapping into the power that you have within yourself. It's all about you learning to actually say, this is how it's going to be. This is a really intensive, you taking control of your life and self-directing it in the way that you want it to be. So as I said, it's there. It starts on the 6th of January. If you have any questions about it, just drop me an email and I'll get back to you straight away. I also have the Quarter Life Club, which is my new baby. This is my monthly membership club as a private Facebook community, and we cover a new topic every month. We cover things like self-belief for girls, self-love and appreciation, life vision, decision making, everything, loads of different things. And let me see, yeah, same again. If you have any questions on this is my very, very affordable club. It's less than €10 a month, and all the club members get 10% discount on all of my other services. So yeah, that is about it. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I wish you every success that you want for yourself in 2014, and I hope to have the privilege of working with you sometime in the future. So you can always get me, just drop me an email or just drop me a post on the Facebook page or a message or anything like that if you have any questions. So here's to you. I hope you have a great year, and take care of yourself. Talk to you soon. Bye.